Dear students, this is our third lecture for DC to DC converters or chopper. During last two lectures, we discussed basics about choppers or DC to DC converter. I'm just taking a recap of what happened in last two lecture was what is DC to DC converter and why they are needed. What are basics of buck converters, realization using passive devices means resistors and active devices means MOSFETs or IGBTs or SCRs in rare cases. Buck converter design equation basically for duty cycle, inductor current, average voltage across inductor, and load voltage. Then we gone through types of choppers, buck converter, boost converters, and buck boost converter, and how duty cycle plays a role in order to convert any buck boost converter as buck or boost converters. Then we detailed about boost converters, realize a boost converter, and gone through the design equations. Now, let us discuss the control strategies. Let's discuss that every power circuit has power and control circuit. And control circuit is a low voltage circuit, but it controls the entire power circuit. Here, input is DC voltage, output is also DC voltage, which is variable or fixed with a different amplitude. So, in this, what to control is the average value of output voltage. Basically, we are interested in controlling the average value. So, if anyway we are in controlling the average value, then it can be controlled by switching on and off the devices or limiting the currents. So, accordingly, there are two basic control methods. One is time ratio control, where we vary the duty cycle or a duty ratio or T on by T, where a T on is a on period and T is a total period for one cycle, which is 1 by Fs. Now you can see, if I go on x-axis, this is average output voltage V0. On y-axis, this is time. Then T is duration for one cycle, including T on and T off. This is T on, this is T off, and this dotted line is average voltage at output. So, if I see K is 0.25, means if this is, let us say 100 volts, this is 25 volt. Naturally, T on might be 25% and T off 75%, considering the switches are lossless switches. Okay. So, if duty cycle is increased or K is increased up to 0.75, means 75% is on period and 25% is off period. So, see T on much bigger, T off smaller, average voltage rises. Means average voltage is directly proportional to ratio of on time to total time. It's very clear and evident from this diagram. So this is TRC and even popularly known as PWM. The next control is CLC or current limit control, where the condition is current shall not go to zero, means it must be a continuous current operation. It is most preferred choice for the inductive loads or RL loads. So let's continue. In time ratio control, we can have either constant frequency operation, means that T is fixed. This T is fixed. And other approach is a variable frequency. So the process is TRC. Let's vary T on and T off, but keep the T constant. Same as the previous slide is stated. And this is known as PWM or pulse width modulator. You may have a question in mind that we are controlling a chopper or a converter, and why we are modulating the pulse width. We are modulating the pulse width in order to control the average output voltage. It's not a modulation for superimposing something, rather it is modulating a width of a pulse so that on period and off period of a particular switch can be controlled in an effective manner. So another strategy in PWM is a variable frequency operation. Means why to keep T on and T on variable, T on and T off variable and T constant? Can I do like I can keep T on constant and vary T. So my T on is constant and T is varied. So if I realize it like this is my on period, this is on period. See, I had kept it constant. This is off period. This one is off period. And in another one, off, this is my off period. This is on period, means reverse of this. But here, see, I am keeping my off period constant and on period is varied to this. Means this is my total T, 1T. Here, this is my on period and this is my off period. This is my total T. So can I vary total T and use it? Yes, I can. That is also known as variable frequency operation, where total T is varied. And this is known as a frequency modulation control, where my total T is this and here my total T is this, but I can keep T on or T off one constant at a time and another is varied. So that total T is varied. Means let us say that T on is 1 millisecond, T off is 3 milliseconds. So total time is 4 milliseconds initially. Later, I keep T on as 1 millisecond and kept T off as 8 milliseconds. So total time will be 9 milliseconds. So reciprocal of 9 millisecond, or let us consider 10 millisecond, will be 100 hertz. Whereas initially it was 1 by 4 milliseconds, means it was a different frequency altogether. So I can vary one of either of T on or T off and keep another constant and vary the frequency. This is popularly known as FM control or frequency modulation control. Means what I am modulating is a frequency, not the time periods only for the T on and T off. Now let's compare both of these. TRC control strategies, not CLC with TRC. This is comparison of TRC strategies, that is frequency modulation control as well as pulse width modulation control. Why PWM is so popular? Because FM technique or frequency modulation technique, variable frequency technique, has certain inherent drawbacks, because this frequency has to be varied over a wide range, and you know that there is inductor and capacitor, means the LC filter, present in the circuit. If frequency is changed, naturally the pass band has to be changed, harmonics will change. So filter design for such a wide frequency variation will be difficult, and I need to keep changing values of inductor and capacitor. Once circuit is realized, it will not be possible to change them at a runtime. So better we go for PWM. And if I am changing frequencies over a wide range, there might be a possibility of interference with another systems which are used for the communication, or with some harmonics of the power line if used at a lower frequencies. So the large uptime may lead to discontinuous load current, because when there is uptime, inductor current decays, flowing through load, feeding to load, but Up to what extent it can survive? It can survive up to the extent that entire inductor energy is released. Once the entire inductor energy is released, it will enter into discontinuous mode. Means load is not getting any energy from the source or the inductor. So discontinuous operation, which is not preferred one. So instead of constant frequency, variable frequency systems or frequency modulation techniques, we prefer PWM because PWM overcomes all these drawbacks. Frequency is fixed, means LC filter realization is easy. Frequency is fixed, on and off time is varied only. So pulse width can be modulated using just the change in a reference signal or amplifications, means I need to just change the on time or off time, keeping frequency constant. And even I'm not keeping on time and off time as it is, rather I'm generating pulse trains. So these pulse trains are generated for a certain period which is on, T on, and not generated for a certain period which is T off. So it is a better approach as compared to frequency modulation. So PWM is the preferred approach and most widely used. Means if you check the realizations, 90% realizations are using PWM techniques. But there is another technique which is current limit, which is neither PWM, neither frequency modulation. Here, our emphasis is on controlling the inductor current, varying it up to certain level high and at a certain level. But this is basically for the continuous current, because in current limit control, the word itself says that I have to control it in both the directions, not allow to go to zero. So load current is maintained between min and max limits. So this realization is preferred or can be used for inductive or RL or heavy inductive loads. But a word of caution is when there is very small difference between Imax and Imins, means that delta L band is very small, then it increases the switching frequency. Very high switching frequency means naturally the higher switching losses. So for buck converters, I greater than Imax switch is to be turned off because it has raised the crossed the upper limit. If I follow below Imin, switch needs to be turned on and current flows from source to load. Means it has to be maintained between Imin to Imax. See, this is Imax, this is max peak, this is mean. So the variation of load current is from I0 to Imax, means minimum load current, assured load current at any given time is Imin. During on period, say it is keep on rising, off period it keeps on falling, but it falls up to Imin only. This is the most important when exhibiting the current limit control. So we know what the buck converter is, what the boost converter is, what make them buck or boost the input voltage to get a desired output voltage. Then how to check, how to decide whether a particular chopper is good, whether a particular chopper is performing well. The figure of merits or parameters for indicating the performance, or let us say quality indicators, are ripple current. It must be as less as possible. We ignored it in the equations, as you might be remember, we did this in first lecture. But when we can ignore it, when it is comparatively less to the total inductor current. So variation must be very less, let us say 2%, 5% of the max switching frequency. Higher switching frequency increases losses, but lower switching frequency uh, gives some interferences with other circuits and systems. And if it is in audio range, a hum will be produced which is not desired. And low frequency means low efficiency. Whether it's a, then another parameter is whether it's a continuous or discontinuous inductor current. Continuous inductor current is always preferred. Why? Have you given a thought? What happens if inductor current is discontinuous? See, when inductor current is discontinuous, means it has reduced to zero, and in a later phase, means in the next cycle when switch is turned on, inductor will start storing the energy. But you know, inductor is a bulky element. It's sluggish. It opposes change in current, so it will rise slowly. Naturally, the load will not get current up to the point inductor transfers. It means through inductor it transfers to the load. Means there is a smooth transition. Putting inductor in a circuit is always ensuring the smooth transition, but it will add a delay. So discontinuous inductor current is preferred, is not preferred in the realizations of circuits. So continuous inductor current is a performing parameter for the job. Ripple content in output voltage must be less because we are dealing with the DC. It has to be a continuous. DC means continuous. Then if it is having lot of ripples, then load will get the disturbances. So ripple content of output voltage and current must be less. Effectively, even input ripple current must be less. Now, let us just revise the choppers in other sense, as they are also classified as class A, B, C, D, and E. Whereas class A is a simple buck converter, which can be shown like this. A switch, load, typically RL load, so prevailing diode is connected, and the operation is in first quadrant, say V0 and I0. Direction of both are same. So this is first quadrant realization, typically a buck converter, and power always flows from source to load. So this is used in typical speed control of a DC motor because speed has never to exceed the nominal speed. You can see this can be realized using thyristors or MOSFET. I0, when switch is on, means chopper is on, chopper is off, chopper is on, and chopper is off again. And when free wheel diode conducts, this is the period when free wheel diode conducts. So this is my V0 on period, V0 off period. If I take a dotted line over here and get average of it, consider this as a straight line, and I will get this average voltage at this chopper. See, the direction of load current is important because it is always from source to load. That is why this is quadrant 1 or first quadrant operation. Load current is continuous to flow in the same direction. Okay. This is how class A chopper is realized. Or in short, in other words, it's a buck converter with the quadrant 1 operation. So this is what for this lecture. Class B and other realization we'll see in the next lecture.